and welcome to Real Estate Real Talk. My name is LaTanya Button. Today I'm joined by Haley Bauer, coming to you from Bryan College Station, the heart of Aggieland, as we discuss the ins and outs of getting your property ready to sell. The purpose of this podcast is to help educate you on how the different real estate processes work, as well as equip you as the buyer or the seller to ask great questions to your agent. Thanks for joining us. So let's get started. We will be discussing what all the seller needs to expect while their home is on the market. So Haley, talk to me about what's next. The listing agent has met with the seller, the home is staged, the photographer has been by, now we're live on MLS. What's next? How much notice does the seller need?
So this is going to vary depending on each seller's situation. Sometimes as the listing agent, we'll see 2 hours to 24 hours notice needed. Other times, if the sellers have already moved out and it's a vacant property, the seller says, hey, it's fine to show anytime.
What about small children?
Okay, good point. So if you have a seller with small kids, it's best to say 24 hours.
Yes,
just because I know with my little boy, it's like herding cats. Right. Trying to get my house clean. I clean up something, I get something done, and then he undoes it.
And he pulls it all out.
Yeah. So I typically tell them, give yourself 24 hours notice, just so you're not stressed out. So, other people, if they have grown kids, they're out of the house, they may say, look, I just need a 30 minutes heads up and I'll be gone. So it really just depends on if they work from home, if they work somewhere else, if they need to maybe come home on their lunch break.
Right. That's a good idea. I know sometimes whenever a seller really needs that 24 hours and they'll have a buyer's agent call and say, look, I've got this couple. They're in town just for today. Is there any way we can see it this afternoon?
Yes, that happens a lot.
That happens a lot. And it doesn't feel respectful, right? When you've already put it in the MLS, you said, I need 24 hours. That's what you're expecting. But you do want your house to sell. Yes. And if at all possible, maybe you had another showing early that morning, so you already had the house prepared.
Yeah.
And so then you're okay with it. But you really try to work with them.
Yeah, try to accommodate them. It is frustrating if they do it last minute. But that could mean a couple of different things. Either they've seen a lot of homes that didn't fit their criteria and their agent was like, trying to crank out a new list for them.
Yes.
And your home did fit that criteria, then you definitely want to jump on that.
You want to do it if you can.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about preparing your home for a showing.
Okay, so what I tell people is everybody has seen HGTV. What you want to do is make your house look ready.
Nice and clean.
Show ready, basically. Right. So needs to be cleaned. If you can vacuum and have some vacuuming lines in the carpet, lights on, blinds open, it's smelling good. It just calms the buyer down a little bit.
They just relax. They walk into your home, you're like, oh, because maybe who knows what house they went into last, right? It could have had a pet odor.
Yes.
But if they walk into yours, they're like, oh, this is clean. Smells good. Mm-hmm.
And, thinking back, I remember this one house in particular. I won't say which one. But
good idea.
I remember showing it and thinking, oh my gosh, this is awful. These people did not prepare. There's toys everywhere. The level of filth was just awful. And so we walked in and walked right out. So
yes,
it's important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just make sure it's ready. Sometimes this is the really good sellers. They will bake some cookies and set them out on a tray and
say, take
write this little note.
Or water bottles, those little small water bottles. Oh,
and it's just so welcoming, and the buyer can walk around the house and just take it all in as they eat their cookie.
Yes.
And
they want to stay a little bit longer.
Yes. And so, most showings take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, especially if they really like it. If they can visualize their stuff in your home, though, they're going to take a little bit more time. If they can sit down on the couch and go, let's put this here and that there,
Right. And the buyer
That's a good
agent,
sign.
the buyer agent, if they see them doing that, they start measuring and start talking about where they're going to put their desk and how they're going to arrange their
Yes.
furniture. Then they kind of have a clue that they really like this home.
Right.
So what about after the showing has finished? What happens?
Okay, so usually once your showing is finished, your listing agent will reach out to you and they'll give you some feedback from the buyer's agent who showed your property. And they're going to see how the tour went. They're going to see if they have any questions, if they, if they feel like they're going to make an offer, or if there's something that's holding them back from making that offer. It's just good for the listing agent to verbally, like phone call, reach out, not just text, because you can't really gather a whole lot from a text. Sometimes it takes calling them on the phone to really get a good feel. But usually the listing agent is able to tell just by reaching out. And then sometimes if the buyer hasn't seen enough homes, they won't make an offer. Other times, if they've seen a couple of homes, they know what they want and they're ready to move forward with an offer, then it's go time.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But sometimes even though the seller agent reaches out to the buyer's agent, sometimes they don't hear back.
Yes.
Maybe, and two, a lot of times the buyer's agent will be showing them multiple properties. So as the listing agent, they may wait an hour or two to reach out to them to get the best optimal time to ask them, hey, any questions?
Yes.
So, but they don't always hear back even after that.
Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't.
It's frustrating as the listing agent not to hear back because you give feedback as the agent on other properties. You hope that other agents will do the same for you. And that's true for our market here. That's what we see a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's important that whenever you get the feedback, right, that you consume that feedback carefully. Because some agents, they'll say, well, it wasn't clean or it was too cluttered or they need to fix this, or there was an odor. And as a seller, it's really important not to be offended, and just to take that and consume. If you have 5 showings and they're all telling you the same thing, or maybe they're telling something different, to just kind of go through that and think through it and say, what can I do to make my house?
Yeah, don't
better?
Take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
It's, it's just part of the feedback process. But yeah, take it into consideration. And if they're all saying the same thing consistently, then you probably need to change something.
Especially if you have pets.
Yeah.
You don't even realize that there's a pet odor.
Right. Because you're in there every day. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you don't even notice, or you may not even notice that there's handprints on the walls.
Right.
From the kids putting their handprints, just running to the house or whatever. You may not notice things, but when the buyer is looking at multiple homes, then you want yours to stand out.
Right. And you mentioned pets. Something we forgot to say earlier is, when you're needing that notice, that time, sometimes you need to secure pets as well.
That's true.
And so maybe the seller needs to take those pets with them for a showing. Maybe they need to kennel them in the garage or another area to where they're out of the way. You don't want to have them in the backyard because then they feel like, oh, we can't go look in the backyard because what if their dog doesn't like me and wants...
And the backyard is very important.
Yes.
Sometimes you have these, you'll have a husband and a wife that are trying to buy, and they're both buying for different reasons. And so maybe the wife wants to be in town, to be access to a certain school or something, but the husband would really prefer to be out in the country.
Yes.
Right. And so if he can walk out in the backyard and feel like maybe he can have a little space or put a shed out there or
a pool
or whatever. So it is important. They want to see that backyard.
Yeah.
So
yeah, make sure it's accessible. Make sure the grass is cut. Make sure if you have a dog,
you've cleaned up.
All their little pyramids are cleaned up.
Right. Because as a listing agent, or a buyer's agent, really, I will walk outside and walk around the house. Right. You're going to look at the different sides of the house and make sure there's not any cracks. Right.
Foundationally. Yes.
Foundational issues. You're going to be just seeing if anything is out of order that you need to represent your buyer in the best way. So you want to give them the opportunity to do that.
Right.
So that's important. What about behind the scenes? So it's out there. They're you're getting showings, but the whole time your realtor, they're talking to people and promoting your listing. So talk to me about that.
Right. So your realtor is doing a lot behind the scenes that you may not see every day. Basically, if you're a great agent like LaTanya and I are, you are promoting this property in every way possible every single day. Okay. That can be through Facebook. It can be through other social media outlets. Here we have Tour Tuesday, and every other Tuesday, depending on the area, we host broker open houses. And it's a chance for us to maybe host a lunch or something to lure the realtors there to see the home and to get feedback from them. That way they can see if it's maybe a home that would fit the criteria of a buyer on their list.
Right. And that's really important that the agents are just aware of what is on the market. And that gives that opportunity.
I've been to many broker open houses where, I've sent it out on Facebook before or on the MLS to the buyer, but it takes really seeing it in person to know if it's going to fit that buyer's needs or not. So it's an opportunity to go preview homes.
And I'll even call agents. Like if I think that there may be an agent that has had a house for sale in that area before, I'll call them up and say, hey, do you have anyone looking in this area? I don't forget about me. I've got this property over here. It's a great property.
Yes.
So communication is important, as well as the advertising and putting it out on Facebook and things like that.
Definitely. Yeah. There's marketing events that we take our listings to and promote them there. But yeah, a good listing agent will check in with you just about 1 to 2 weeks, especially if you've had a feedback. You should be hearing from your agent every single time.
Yes.
You have a showing for that feedback.
But if you don't hear from them for a couple of days, they are working on your behalf. It's not that they've forgotten you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about if you're not getting showings, because that's an important part of this process. When you list the home, you do not know if you're going to get showings now, today, or next week, or 2 weeks, or it could be a while. So talk to me about that.
If you're not getting showings, there's a few reasons for that. Most of the time, it's because the price is too high. You may need a price adjustment. Other times, if the seller didn't follow your advice about neutralizing the paint and you've got wild colors like pink, yellow, and green.
Yes, I've seen that.
All throughout the house, it might be time to get quotes to get some neutralizing paint done to the house.
And typically, as a rule, if you have about 10 showings and there's no offer, or if it's been 2 weeks and you have no showings, you need to have a conversation about adjusting the price.
Yes, those first 2 weeks are so critical. And so if you haven't had any showings the first 2 weeks, you probably need to drop the price some.
And it's possible that your listing agent will talk to you before you even finish signing the paperwork and say, look, let's revisit this price. Because the seller, sometimes they feel like it should be listed at a certain price, and you present them the market analysis. You give them a CMA of what's sold, and you may be a little on the high side. But if you will set up a good conversation, look, if in 2 weeks we need to revisit this if we don't have an offer, and then we can maybe adjust the price. But I think it's really important not to become frustrated in the process, because you really don't know. The market is changing.
Yeah. And it depends on what market you're in and, what the average days on market are for your specific market.
And if it's fall or spring or
if it's
summer.
the off season or seasons and everything have a part to play.
I agree. Well, that wraps it up for now. Next time, we'll be discussing what to expect when your home has gone under contract from the seller's perspective. Thank you, Haley, for joining me today and for sharing your experiences with our listeners. We are very excited for the opportunity to share the real estate process with all of you. If you have a topic you would like for us to cover, please email us at realtalkaggieland@gmail.com. As always, check out our other podcasts on iTunes, Facebook, YouTube, and when you have a real estate question, give us a call. Thanks for joining us on Real Estate Real Talk.